Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, look like the DOJ is pretty much saying even if you are a naturalized citizen, they're going to get you out of here. So, they're talking the same way they were before. Oh, if you're a criminal, but we know most of the people they're rounding up are not criminals. They're going to schools, they're going to people's jobs, they're going in churches, there's no crimes going on in those kind of places. But, they're using that same talking point. And I guess as long as it sounds like you're going after criminals, it sounds acceptable to people. But we know that's not what Donald Trump is doing. So, y'all, it looks like the DOJ is making it much easier for the Trump administration to denaturalize people. So many of these people probably are going to be the kind that's been here for a few decades, but they're going to have to go home now, or you've been here for so long and you did not get your paperwork right. You may be out of here. So, and I got another one that I probably will do tomorrow. ICE is pulling out of Minnesota. So I might do a live on that tomorrow, but they are pulling all of the ICE agents out of Minnesota. Tom Holman just made that announcement, but look like things are about to take a turn for the worse. Now, I know earlier in 2025, Donald Trump was talking about denaturalizing citizens and doing, I think, like 200 per month. Now, I don't know if that number is still valid or not, but it could be. It could be. All right, y'all. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Oops, never mind. Wrong one. Let me stop sharing. So this one, yeah, it's that one. Okay, it's this one. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Justice just confirmed their plans to deport naturalized U.S. citizens. The order states that any offense at any time can be used to justify denaturalization. The DOJ also confirmed that they will be pursuing civil cases, which is extremely significant considering the fact that individuals in civil court are not entitled to an attorney. So if they cannot afford to hire a private attorney, then they will not be able to fight it in court. At least one person has already been denaturalized in recent weeks. Experts in immigration law have already expressed concerns, with one stating, quote, "They're going to end up focusing on people who have not committed any serious infraction or maybe any infraction at all." The Assistant Attorney General stated that pursuing denaturalization will be among the agency's top 5 priorities.
Something that each and every one of us should have woke up and paid attention to was this. The Trump administration just issued a memo to the Department of Justice to prioritize revoking citizenships. And that means revoking citizenships from naturalized Americans. Yeah. These are citizens that became citizens legally. And if the Trump administration decides that they became citizens fraudulently, they can go after whoever they want. And they can even go after people who they deem suppose a security threat. That could be anyone. And of course, they're saying, oh, this is just for the criminals, the gangbangers, the rapists, the terrorists. That's bullshit. Because once they get targeted for denaturalization, guess what? They don't get a public defender. Because this isn't going to criminal court. This is going to civil court. Civil court. And that takes away your automatic right to a lawyer. So if you can't pay for a lawyer on your own, oh well. So that means Trump's Department of Justice gets to decide who's a citizen and who's not. And once they take away your naturalization, you can be deported. Period.
Breaking immigration news, the Trump administration just announced that stripping Americans of their citizenship just became one of its top 5 enforcement priorities. Naturalization. The Trump administration is targeting naturalized citizens, 25 million Americans who weren't born here but became citizens later. Here is what is terrifying. They are doing this through civil courts, not criminal courts, which means the only way that you'll get a lawyer is if you go out and hire one yourself at your own expense. Civil court also means a lower burden of proof, so it's easier for them to win. They already stripped one person's citizenship just last week, a UK national who's a military veteran. And this isn't just about criminals. It's about terrorizing immigrants and their communities and redefining who gets to be an American. Follow me for more information because unfortunately, this is just the beginning. Breaking immigration news, the Trump administration just announced that stripping
citizenship from naturalized Americans, and the Supreme Court just made it easier to do. The Trump administration has ordered the Justice Department to prioritize denaturalization, targeting Americans who immigrated here legally and later got citizenship. Under a new DOJ memo, anyone convicted of a serious crime, even if it happened years after they became a citizen, could now be put on a list to lose their citizenship and then be deported. This isn't just talk. The DOJ has already started civil cases to revoke citizenship. No jury, no right to a lawyer even, just a judge and a government lawyer arguing you never deserved to be an American in the first place. And here's what makes it even more urgent. Last week, the Supreme Court struck down the power of the lower courts to block federal policies nationwide. That means if you're targeted, you have to fight back one case at a time. No more national shields, no more broad injunctions. Civil rights groups say this opens the door to a two-tiered system where naturalized citizens live in fear. But the Constitution is still on the table. But the DOJ must provide fraud or a material lie in the original citizenship process. The stakes are clear. This is a test of what citizenship really means in America today. My name is Jared Zisser. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Substack for all breaking news, all breaking updates, and the full.
The Trump administration is reportedly aiming to strip U.S. citizenship from up to 200 naturalized Americans per month. According to guidance issued in late 2025, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services was asked to supply 100 to 200 denaturalization cases every month in 2026 to the Department of Justice. That is massive. Between 1990 and 2017, the U.S. averaged just 11 denaturalization cases per year. Now the target could be more than that every single month. Officials say the focus is on people who committed fraud or made material misrepresentations during the citizenship process, or who posed national security risks. But I'm pretty skeptical. A USCIS spokesperson says there's zero tolerance for fraud and that the administration will maximally pursue denaturalization where supported by evidence. But keep in mind, there are roughly 26 million naturalized U.S. citizens living in the country today. Advocacy groups warn that broader enforcement standards could lead to aggressive reviews and expanded targeting. Denaturalization is rare and historically reserved for clear cases of fraud. Now, it's becoming a central piece of a broader immigration crackdown backed by a $170 billion enforcement package and what the president has called the largest deportation effort in U.S. history.
Peace to the tribe. So the Trump administration plans to revoke citizenship of naturalized citizens who commit certain crimes. The DOJ calls for civil denaturalization in the cases of war crimes, human rights abuses, and for those convicted of crimes who pose an ongoing threat to the United States of America. So that means if you weren't born in America, but you gained your citizenship, you can still get that revoked. Your status can still be stripped if you're committing certain crimes.
Is deporting American citizens. In Alabama, a man named Chanthilla Savannarath has been deported to Laos, a country he's never lived in. even though a federal judge blocked his removal and warned there would be inherent and obvious harm in deporting a U.S. citizen. Yeah, you don't say. So Vanarath was born in a Thai refugee camp and has lived in the U.S. since he was a baby. His father became a naturalized citizen when Chantilla was a child, which under immigration law should have made him a citizen too. But ICE kidnapped him in June and locked him in a new detention facility in Louisiana's Angola prison, one of the most notorious prisons in America. Then, despite the court order, they put him on a flight to Laos the next day. Homeland Security isn't apologizing. They're doubling down, saying there was no mistake. They called him a criminal illegal alien and said he was just trying a Hail Mary by claiming citizenship. Except there's one thing. Citizens can't be deported. That's the law. A federal judge said he had a substantial claim to citizenship and should have never been removed. But surprise, surprise, the Trump regime doesn't care. They're deporting first and defending it later. Now Savannah's lawyers are fighting to bring him back to the United States.
The Trump administration just confirmed their plans to deport naturalized U.S. citizens, so let's talk about what that means. The order says that any offense at any time can be used to justify denaturalization. The DOJ also confirmed that they will be pursuing civil cases, which is extremely significant considering the fact that individuals in civil court are not entitled to an attorney. So if they can't afford to hire a private attorney, then they won't be able to fight it in court. At least one person has already been denaturalized under this order. Experts in immigration law have expressed huge concerns, with one stating, quote, "They're going to end up focusing on people who have not committed any serious infraction or maybe any infraction at all." The Assistant Attorney General stated that pursuing denaturalization will be among the agency's top 5 priorities.
Okay. Well, look like there's going to be more people that are not going to be safe in America. Why don't these people just go? Why even go through the humiliation of ICE showing up and snatching you all in the streets and everything? That's just ridiculous to me. But hey, the way I see it is y'all have an opportunity to leave. He even wanted to pay people to self deport. If it was me, I think that's the route I would go. I wouldn't be sitting around waiting for ICE to come and snatch me up. That is so embarrassing. But I guess, they don't want to go to their home country. Look how much they cry when they got to go back home. They just bawl and cry. And it just goes to show you all that stuff they try to boast about their country is a load of BS. At the end of the day, if ICE catch up to their butts and put them in one of those detention centers, they going to be bawling like a baby. Mm-mm-mm. Y'all, I guess Donald Trump is going to turn up even more on these folks. It ain't going to be a good thing to walk around with some accent. And, as you heard before, Latinos are the number one target, you know? And, I find it strange because I was telling y'all in the beginning, Tom Homan made an announcement that they're pulling ICE out of Minnesota, but you didn't even get all of the Somalians out. So that is a very strange thing, but I guess it is what it is. Maybe it's a temporary pullout and they're going back in there. So, y'all, this is all I have. And let me tell you, you illegals, you better watch your back. You can talk all that, we're next and all that. One thing we don't have to do is look over our shoulders when we go out. Y'all do. Just remember that. So, y'all, I will be back tomorrow with all new topics. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support and have a wonderful evening. Shalom, family.